We just went through the fact that Earthen's racials are actually going to be buffed, and Earthen overall as a race has actually been fleshed out pretty well. I wasn't a big fan of Earthen. I'm like, what are these guys, taller dwarves? That seems so oxymoronic. I don't know what it is, but I'll be honest, with all the customizations they're getting, the the storyline that we've had from them so far, the Earthen have actually grown on me a little bit. I've gotten a little bit hard for the Earthen. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Anyways, if you did make an Earthen, the fastest way to level Earthen in the War Within, here it is from Dalaran Gaming. Let's check this thing out.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and the Earthen Allied race are finally playable as of this week's update. This week features the final of the main story chapters of War Within before Season 1 content, and with a couple of side quests on top of the main quest that you have to complete, Earthen race now is finally playable and available. They have access to a variety of different classes with a variety of their own unique customization options, mounts, a new set of racials, passives, and actives, but also a heritage armor set which you unlock once you reach at least level 50 on an Earthen character.
So by the way, that heritage armor set, we talked about it yesterday. One quick way to get it, either race change a character or use your level boost for this expansion on an Earthen, because the old qualifications of having to level through a certain amount of levels to be able to unlock your allied race armor, that doesn't exist anymore. All you got to do is have a level 50 plus Earthen. So just by boosting one or transferring racial changing one of your characters who's already above 50, you can unlock the armor set.
If you plan on playing an Earthen as either a main or potentially as an alt going forward in War Within, this video is going to go over all of the different ways that you can take advantage of the open world, as well as some of the current bonuses that are active in order to get yourself an Earthen character to max level rather quickly. As always, if you guys want to see more guides like these for the War Within expansion, be sure to follow this channel and subscribe. Otherwise, let's dive right in. So the fastest way of getting an Earthen to max level, I mean, technically, is just by buying a boost. I know, a bit of a cheeky answer.
Okay. I thought it was dungeon spamming is probably. Well, I'll let him say it.
That is technically the fastest way if you were trying to get an Earthen at max level. Although between the amazing leveling of the warband system, plus the Darkman Fair that is currently active, plus a handful of items that we'll be using in order to speed up our leveling experience, leveling a fresh new Earthen from 10 to 70 is incredibly fast. And
yeah. If you have alts already leveled, you get 5% more leveling speed with every alt that you've gotten to cap level. So if you've gotten 5, you got the cap of 25% increased leveling speed. I mean, that's a huge one. So yeah, if you've already leveled alts, this Earthen leveling is going to be much quicker.
Won't even put a dent in your wallet. However, if you do plan on leveling an Earthen from level 10 all the way to max, you will need a few consumables, at least one of them, in order to make that leveling journey a little bit quicker. Now, the first item you want to acquire is the Draught of 10 Lands, a Battle for Azeroth potion that increases your experience gain by 10% until a certain point, like level 49 specifically. This is a Warfront potion, or a potion that you can obtain from the Warfront Quartermasters. There's one for Alliance and one for Horde. Both of them can be found at the docks, either in the docks of Zuldazar or at the docks of Kultiras for the Alliance. And the potion does not really cost a lot. It really just costs a little bit of this honor-bound service metal, which is a warband transferable currency, especially if you play.
I forgot about these too. Man, that's a great one. That's a great little take of advice there. Damn, just go buy that thing. And obviously that currency is easy to get. I mean, if you don't have it, honor-bound service metal, shoot, just go run something real quick. And it's warband transferable too. Damn.
Band transferable currency, especially if you played back in WoD, you might actually have had already a little bit of this currency stored up from the previous expansion. So if you want to transfer that currency onto a singular character and then use it to buy a bunch of fresh new potions, that is one way to do it. If you haven't played back in BFA, to unlock the zone of the Battle for Azeroth areas, you'll first need to do an intro questline in order to unlock them. This shortly leads you to a questline to unlock in the Warfront system. If you don't have any,
so you have to go back to one of the old hub cities to buy these. Then Drought of 10 Lands. Okay.
The currency, and you still need a little bit more. However, there's usually going to be a Warfront portal at the Quartermasters themselves, either to Darkshore or to the Arathi. Once in the zone, you have a couple of different world quests that you can complete, all of which...
look at that. One honor, you just got to do 2 of these. This is really cool. That's such a good tidbit of advice. Nice from Dalaran.
Award you honor-bound service medals, which is the commendation currency that you need in order to purchase the potions from the Quartermaster. Now, another XP buff that is currently available is the Darkmoon Fair buff.
Go
this
ride the
event
ride.
appears once every few weeks, so just be sure to check the calendar to see if the fair is currently active. But the fair provides you a couple of different bonuses, one of them being an experience bonus. If you want to have an easier time getting into the fair from Orgrimmar or Stormwind, find one of these fair mystic mages and then pay him 25 copper in order to get teleported directly to the fair grounds. Once there, go through the portal and then you end up on the actual island of the Darkmoon Fair. Once inside, buy tickets to either ride the carousel or the roller coaster. Either one works and you'll get a buff called We, which increases your rep gains but also experience gains by 10%.
There you
and you
go.
want to make sure to double back to Darkmoon Fair if you're...
So, I mean, doing that is a great thing to do. You can also get the 10 tickets and buy the hat, which I thought was required, but it's not. You buy the hat and that will give you a bonus as well. Just don't die. Remember, don't die. I learned that lesson the hard way. If you die, the buff falls off, and you got to go back and re-ride the ride. That's why having the hat might be a good idea in your pack. You could just put that on and get the 10% buff again.
Lose the buff.
Take
You
notes,
can
Sam,
lose
yeah.
the buff by letting it run out, but also if you die, you also lose the
he
buff,
just
which is
said it.
unfortunate.
Don't die.
So try not to die while in dungeons or while questing in order to preserve this buff for as long as possible. So when it comes to the actual route, the route is going to be a little bit different for Alliance and Horde, but at least it starts in the same spot. The first thing we need to do is get access to the Dalaran Hearthstone as well as the Garrison Hearthstone, because on a fresh new character, you actually cannot use either one of these Hearthstones. You need to first enable them by visiting those relevant zones. We'll start off with the Dalaran Hearthstone and then we'll get the Garrison Hearthstone later by heading over to Chromie Time and enabling Chromie Time for the Legion expansion. This will let you either begin the intro into Legion or will allow you to skip it in order to get into the Legion version of Dalaran much quicker. Once there, talk to the first NPC to finish up a quest so you get the start for Legion Dalaran in order to gain a copy of the Dalaran Hearthstone, but now it also enables you the use of the Dalaran Hearthstone so you can go back there, which you'll
nice.
use in order to get back a little quicker. Also, if the Darkmoon Fair is up, right now would be a good time to head back over to Stormwind or Orgrimmar to pick up your 10% experience buff before we get started. After we get our Dalaran Hearthstone, we then want to head back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar and then talk to Chromie one more time to enable TBC time walking. We're not actually going to be leveling in any of the outland zones, but we'll be using TBC time walking for some extremely efficient dungeoneering. Technically, from this point forth, if you're a tank or a healer, or better yet, have a pre-made 5-man or a 4-man group to spam queue dungeons, dungeon questing is going to be the fastest way to get to max level, or at least to level 70.
Why TBC, though? Is that like the fastest dungeons to run, or is that where the most people are to be able to queue up with? I wonder what would... I mean, I'd follow his direction. He's been right about everything else so far.
Your Earthen character.
But I wonder why TBC.
Dungeons in TBC also have a variety of those instances are going to have quests in those dungeons that award a very generous amount of experience on top of the actual dungeons and the experience from killing all the bosses. So dungeon leveling is technically the fastest if you have a good group that's doing them efficiently. However, there's a lot of new players coming back to the game, but also players picking up Earthen for the first time and maybe checking out a class they don't play normally. So your experience will vary. Because of this inconsistency, unless you have a pre-made dungeon group of like 5 or 4 players that could spam queue them and do them as efficiently as possible, I found it actually more consistent to mostly focus on questing and doing dungeons on the side once in a while just to get some supplementary experience.
Yeah, the best and most efficient way is probably do quests while you're queued for the dungeon, and then whenever the queue pops, you go do the dungeon, come back, and then do quests and re-queue again. Like, that's always been the best way. To sit and wait for dungeons to queue, I don't know if that's the best choice. Especially because... it's always a good idea to... You can confuse me. I thought I did mute myself. It's always a good idea to... what's it called? Have the quests going while you're in the dungeon too, right? Just in case maybe there's some NPCs or something that could drop that you can get from it.
But for the most part focusing on questing through the various zones. But it's still worth enabling TBC time walking even if you're not going to be doing that many dungeons. As for the actual questing that we'll be doing, the zones we'll be leveling through while queuing some dungeons. Alliance players will start out in Elven Forest, particularly in Eastvale Lodging Camp, where you want to clear out the entirety of Eastvale Lodging Camp and the surrounding quests, get them all out of the way, not really need to go any further than the Pumpkin Patch or Tower of Zora, just the Eastvale Lodging Camp quest is enough. From there, we'll actually be heading east further into Red Ridge Mountains. There's a tower near Three Corners where you want to do all the quests in that area. This will eventually take you to Lakeshire and do most of the quests in Red Ridge. Most of them are going to start in Lakeshire.
Questing in Red Ridge.
Do as much of Red Ridge Mountains as you...
Questing in Red Ridge is a treat nonetheless. I mean, I'm glad it's the fastest way, but it's also just beautiful. I love Red Ridge.
You can, up until you encounter the quest called Prisoners of War. Once you see it, you actually want to back up out of there and head into Duskwood, which is going to be south of Red Ridge Mountains. A lot of the quests are going to start in Darkshire, and you kind of just want to do the entirety of Duskwood and complete the whole zone. It's incredibly efficient and will do a ton of XP. From there on, Duskwood would be second to last zone you'll want to level in. Finally, you want to start leveling in Loch Modan as your final zone, and by Loch Modan...
What a nice way to finish it off with Loch Modan, which is very much a dwarven zone. It's a fun dwarf. There's a lot of good dwarf storylines, actually, if you've done the quests out there. Really cool stuff about a lot of the dwarf heritage and stuff like that, like the original dwarf heritage, not the earthen ones.
You should be at least getting pretty close to level 60 or even 70, but if you clear out the entire zone, you should be 70, ready for war within expansion stuff. As an Alliance player, you also should head back to Stormwind to refresh your Darkman Fair buff if it's active, but also
Alliance
once you hit level 20, you should go back into order to enable War Mode. War Mode gives you 10% additional experience, and in the pathing that we take for War Mode leveling, specifically using Chromie Time, we're actually in a weird different phase where we're not going to be seeing a lot of players of the opposing faction. It doesn't mean that you're never going to see a single player of the opposing faction, but you're less likely to encounter players of the Horde variety, so you're not really going to be seeing PvP encounters where you could potentially die and then slow down your entire progress of leveling characters as quickly as possible. So War Mode provides you 10% additional experience, plus PvP talents, which can sometimes, depending on the class, be very, very strong in the open world content. But the 10% additional experience, on top of all the other bonuses, is what we are primarily looking for, so be sure to enable it at level 20. Now, Horde players will also be doing a very similar thing, but your questing path is going to be very, very, very weird. First of all, you are actually not going to be questing in Kalimdor at all. Horde players want to head over to Orgrimmar, go to the portal room, and then head to Silvermoon. Behind where Lorthamar and some of the other Silvermoon leaders are will be a chance.
Oh, nice. Take it all in. You get to go to Silvermoon. That's a cool thing because that's going to completely change in the next expansion. So get your final looks at Silvermoon, I guess.
That takes you to the Undead Zones, starting with Churchful Glades. From Churchful Glades, you'll want to actually go further down into Silverpine Forest, and this is where you're going to begin questing. Silverpine Forest is a weird zone that has a little bit of cutscenes as well as a bit of roleplay between characters, which feels like it's going to slow down your questing experience completely. And it does feel slow, but it's actually a deceptively efficient zone when it comes to XP. It is really quick, and it really, really speeds up towards the tail end of the entire zone. So just start.
Oh man, this is the quest line where Garrosh calls Sylvanas a bitch. Didn't they take that out of the game? Man. The Garrosh did nothing wrong. That guy knew it was up.
In Silverpine Forest and follow the main story all the way through as it heads into Hillsborough.
Oh, they took it out of the game.
Complete all of Hillsborough Foothills as well as Silverpine Forest, because those are going to be the most efficient questing areas after. But once you're done with both of them, Horde is in a bit of a weird spot, and this is where we will be utilizing that Garrison Hearthstone that we'll talk about in just a second. But with Garrison Hearthstone, we'll be able to access the Warlords of General zones, where we'll initially start in Frostfire Ridge. After you complete the entirety of Silverpine as well as Hillsbred, you'll actually be questing in Gorgrond, Talador, and Spires of Arak. Not necessarily questing, mostly bonus objectives with some quests. You'll have a quest in Gorgrond in order to get you started, at least get you on your path, in order to be able to establish an outpost in Gorgrond, and you definitely want to complete all those quests to help establish a Horde outpost in that area. Once you do that, there's going to be 3 zones in Gorgrond you'll want to focus on. One of them is going to be the Stonewall Arena towards the bottom area, the Grand Canyon kind of below Drav the Ruiner World Boss, as well as the entirety of Rexar questline, as well as all of the bonus objectives in the zone.
The Rexar questline's a cool one too in terms of lore, so that's nice that the Horde get to do that. I love the Rexar questline.
Those objectives are actually surprisingly good for additional XP, but they're also fairly efficient and pretty easy to do in most cases, except for that 1k with those goblin dweller looking things. Those could be a little bit of a pain. From there on, after you do all the bonus objectives and those 3 zones of Gorgrond, you then want to move on to Talador, and there'll be outposts right next to Fort Rinth. There'll be one for the Horde there. There, you want to make sure to also establish another outpost, and you want to construct the arsenal, and then do that zone's bonus objectives. Primarily focus on the Magran Lockworks, the Zangara, as well as the Aruna's Desolation. Afterwards, you'll want to head over to Spires of Arak, and you'll have a quest, The Shadows of Sketes, which gets you started with Spires of Arak, and you kind of just want to follow the main storyline all the way until you get to establish another Horde outpost, where you want to open up a tavern, which provides 20% bonus experience
20%?
in that entire zone.
Wow.
And you kind of want to finish up the rest of your leveling experience in Spires of Arak as the Horde's most efficient zone, all the way until level 17. Just like Alliance players, as Horde players...
Damn, I had no idea this freaking existed. Spires of Arak, you can get a 20% buff if you open up the tavern? Holy crap, man. That's a lot.
As Horde players, once you hit level 20, you also want to make sure to go grab the War
That means
Mode.
if you get the 20% buff, you go to the Dark Moon Fair and get the 10% buff, you're getting 30% buff. Turn on War Mode, you're getting another 10% on top of that. So what is it, 20, 10, and 10? Sam's doing some math. That's 40%. Oh my god. And then if this is your 5th alt, add 25% on top of that. Oh my god, 65% buff? Is that real? You get a 45% buff if you're not a French Canadian. Jesus Christ, I'm not a French Canadian. But yeah, okay, I got it. That's crazy.
Bonus in Orgrimmar. The easiest way to do that is to set a hearth at a local inn in the current zone that you are leveling. Then use the $1 Hearthstone to then go back to Orgrimmar, enable War Mode, but also go back and refresh your Darkwood Fair buff if that is currently active. Then hearth back to
That's a crazy stack of buffs.
Zone. Just like Alliance players, Horde players also should not see too many players of the opposing faction, so there's pretty low chance of you encountering the other faction for PvP combat. You might, but in my time leveling this character, I didn't encounter a single player of the Horde faction since this Earthen was Alliance. So your chances of encountering the opposite faction are not zero, but they're definitely very, very low. Also, for both factions,
never zero. Just remember, never zero.
Around level 25 to 35, this is where I feel like the leveling kind of goes into a bit of a lull. It kind of starts to slow down and the speed of leveling gets a bit of a dip. This is where, once you hit level 25 or so, I like to go back to Chromie and to enable Warlords of Draenor time walking. So you're going to switch it from TBC to WoD, and then do the entirety of WoD intro opening questline. The WoD intro it takes a bit of time, but it's hyper efficient.
By the way, the WoD intro, I mean, efficiency aside, is, I've been saying it for a while now, one of the best intros in any expansion ever. The WoD intro freaking hit the ground running. That shit was great. It was the tail end of WoD that was complete shit. And I said it when the War Within hit, and I said I felt like this is starting off to be like a really good expansion storytelling-wise. I was like, it's the best thing since WoD. Yeah. Legion had some good stuff too, but man, WoD's intro story was pretty damn good.
Is what I would describe it as. When it comes to just the amount of raw experience gain and the amount of activities you have to do in order to gain a level, it really helps out during that level 25 to 35 lull that usually happens every single zone that I leveled in. It allows you to gain a bunch of experience while also at the same time establishing your Warlords of Draenor garrison, which also gives you access to that garrison Hearthstone. All you have to do is do the entirety of WoD intro all the way until you establish your garrison, and once you do, you can safely leave that zone, go back to Chromie, enable TBC time walking so you can continue to queue for TBC dungeons while questing out in the open world. From level 70 to 80,
so you quest in WoD, but you do TBC dungeons? What? That's funny.
Really simple. We're just going to be spamming dungeons until max level. You can do a bit of crafting by creating first time craft items, which provides you with experience bonuses, and without too much capital invested into the auction house and without breaking the bank, you can get yourself enough materials to grind through leatherworking or blacksmithing or jewel crafting or even tailoring in order to be able to get enough first time craft bonuses to essentially blow through level 79 to 80 for the final bonus, or just do more dungeons if that's how you want to finish it out. But the last 10 levels, 70 to 80, seems to be the most straightforward and maybe even the fastest, depending on how fast you're getting those dungeon queues. But whether you're queuing them as a DPS, tank, or a healer, right now everybody's playing the expansion, everybody is leveling the character, so the earlier you do it, the faster you can get through that leveling journey and reach max level on your Earthen character. But with that being said, that is going to be how to quickly and efficiently level an Earthen character if you're not willing to shell out the money in order to buy a boost outright. But with that being said, I do want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed. And if you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very, very much appreciate it. It helps out the channel tremendously, especially with the launch of a brand
Very
new
nice video.
expansion. And if you have any questions regarding leveling or get stumped while leveling your Earthen character, be sure to join our Discord community down below. There's a good chance either somebody in the community might be able to answer some of your questions, or I'll try to be at least as helpful as I can be with some of the information that I potentially could offer to make that leveling journey even easier. So join our Discord community. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below of this video. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Yeah, a great video. Interesting stuff about how to level up. I was shocked by the percentage bonus and the way you could stack some of this stuff. My God, I mean, at one point, if you have the alts going and everything, and this is like your 5th alt or something, you're gonna have some crazy percentage stacking buffs there. And of course, if you do make an Earthen, there is one Earthen that you need to make more than any, and that is the Zoval Earthen. Yeah, the Jailer Earthen. Man, I've been seeing this one circulating around. Somebody actually made this in game and has one of the Maw pets with him as a hunter. Oh my God, it's freaking hilarious. And he called himself the Jailer. Yeah, so there you go. Zoval is returned as an Earthen, and you can now get him to cap level faster than ever thanks to this video from Dalaran. Nice video.